Love him or hate him, his magnetic charisma and dynamic surfing made him one of surfing's most talked about personalities, and his legend only seems to grow as the years go by.
Well, Miki Dora was the Black Knight of surfing. I mean, he did everything possible to piss off society. From the time he got up in the morning till the time he went to bed at night, his life was designed around just basically doing everything against the laws of nature and man. We surfed all over the world together, and I ended up making a model board for Miki. But our relationship was basically like two dogs circling, growling at each other all the time. He was just a unique guy. People ask, well, what was Miki Dora like? To begin with, there's no answer to the question, really. What's a wild animal like? And that's basically what Dora was. He saw life through a different set of binoculars. So, I mean, his friends were odd, he was odd, but he loved the water, he loved the ocean, and he was always looking for that one last wave around the corner. He traveled the far corners of the earth looking for one more surf spot, the Valhalla of surfing. Yeah, we made a lot of boards. I mean, back when boards were selling for $100, we came out with the Cat, and I mean, because Miki was such an incredibly good surfer and such a controversial guy, we hung a price tag on him, $165 on him. That's near double, and we couldn't make him fast enough for 2 years. But Miki was, he never got along with grown-up people very well. He was always adversarial. But kids he liked, because they didn't want anything from him. But he had this way of surfing that was so graceful and everything, and soft. If you throw a cat up in the air, chances are it's going to come down on his feet. And Dora was that way. He was just smooth. The cat burglar thing. He'd go to parties in Hollywood and empty out all the fur coats and the wallets and everything. And so he was kind of the Cat. And so I said, I think we'll call the board the Cat. Pretty cool name. For back then it was cool. And his ads to this day, I have guys come and look at the old Cat ads that we did, and they go, you know what? That advertising campaign's still the best that surfing's ever seen. So he's got this outfit like the Red Baron with the cross, the Blue Max Award. And in his copy, he's talking about how the Cat is so pure and it shoots down all the kooks, and this cherished award is going to go to the single surfer that shows the most valor and courage. Unfortunately, there were no qualifiers.
SurfGuide magazine said in 1964 that at the perfect surf spot, on the perfect day, Miki Dora is probably the best surfer in the world. Miklos Sander Dora was born in Budapest, Hungary on August 11th, 1934. He moved to California as an infant, and his parents divorced at 6 years of age. He was raised in military schools, which he despised, and planted the seed of rebellion that would symbolize his entire life. Miki saw situations and life itself as a game, and from a young age was constantly figuring out unorthodox yet clever ways to win. His mother Ramona's second husband was Gard Chapin, a well-known surfer of the 40s who would take Miki to the beach to surf during his summer vacations. He was immediately drawn to the freedom and independence that surfing provided. He didn't need to rely on anyone and could take a wave and forget about all the bullshit he was dealing with on land. Over the next few years, he got more and more beach time, enjoying pristine, empty lineups at one of California's most majestic point breaks, Malibu. By 1960, California surf culture was hitting the big screen, the radio, and the collective consciousness of the entire country. Surfing magazines appeared and surf movies were made, creating a new industry based around this aquatic, wave-riding discipline. Crowds swelled at Miki's beloved Malibu Point, and he was all up in the mix as the game was changed forever. At this time, Dora was putting on some of the most progressive surfing performances in the world, with Phil Edwards himself claiming that Miki's maneuvers are breaking the paradigm of just going straight.
I was one of the first 15 who rode the North Shore. I don't know. It doesn't make a difference to me.
Hollywood embarked on featuring surfing, an opportunity opened up for Miki to dive in as an extra, stuntman, and consultant for a new genre of beach party movies. Before too long, Dora had a career in the movie industry and was getting paid for the once rebellious lifestyle he embraced growing up surfing. But as he became disillusioned with the commercialism, he renounced it. Author David Renson wrote the book All for a Few Waves.
He bit the hand that fed. He was just the guy who said, I don't want any of this, but was willing to be in there to tell you that he didn't want any of this in a magazine. He hated being a celebrity, except he couldn't live without being a celebrity. The guy's a walking paradox. He was charming, he was theatrical, he was smart, he was good looking, he was contrary, he was gregarious, he was reckless, he was private. He was a sensitive kid whose parents were divorced, and then they're remarried, and then divorced again. So he never really had a place where he was welcomed. His father put him in military school because his father had gone to military school and thought he'd enjoy it. His mother married Guard Chapin, the surfer. Guard was an authoritarian, probably beat Miki. If you wanted something from him, he was suspicious. He classified people into people he respected and people he took advantage of. He had relationships with women that, were really passionate and intense, and yet he didn't trust them, because of his mother, because his mother was so narcissistic and loved him, as if his father said, like a monkey love, but she wasn't very, responsible. The dishes would not be washed, So he didn't trust people. He wanted personal freedom. He just wanted to do what he wanted to do. He did not want to sell out and become assimilated. He looked around and the world didn't make sense. Or it made a kind of sense with people with jobs and lives and, accommodations that he just said, I can't do it. He told me he had no talent but to live a free life. I said, what about your surfing? That's nothing. A lot of kids can do a lot of stuff, I can't do. I said, come on, Miki, it's God-given, you are talented. But that's basically all he did. He ran some scams, he lived off of phony credit cards for a while. I've got letters, back from the early 50s where between him and a friend where, he's saying, look, I got this deal, we're going to, you'll invest this much and we'll do this. And, all the terms were always favorable to Miki.
Miki loved attention, and his pranks and hijinks were always timed for maximum effect. Like untapping a huge jar of moths at a surf movie premiere, only to watch them swarm the projector. Or dropping his trunks and mooning the judges, crowd, and TV cameras at the 1966 championships at Malibu. He would crash parties, always dressed to the T, whether in a tuxedo or Hawaiian shirt, to fit the occasion and charm his way into whatever he saw as his quest for the night. He would show up at the beach with a wide variety of spectacular women, and he used younger surfers that looked up to him as errand boys and personal chauffeurs. Dora was fascinated with the concept of deceit and knew that, especially in Los Angeles, image and appearance are everything. His self-entitlement and behavior out at the point were legendary. He reckoned all waves at Malibu Point were his and considered anyone who paddled for one of his waves a thief. In 1969, at 35 years of age, a fed-up Dora left the California beach scene that lived up to all his bitter predictions.
Evolution, where is it all going? Is it coming to an end, or is it just beginning? There was one fellow who rode Malibu quite well at a certain time in history, and I doubt if very few people are able to find these type of conditions again. Crowds and controls and much bureaucracy. But there are other areas which are magnificent, are treasures of this world. And for someone with adventure and a little excitement in their lives, and they have a lot of excitement and adventure, and they can find this way of living.
He lived a bohemian life on the road, bouncing between luxury and poverty, surfing and scamming, running from the law and doing time in jail. In a rare interview from the great Bill Delaney's Surfers, the movie, Dora gives perhaps his most poignant insight into his life and true nature.
Who's the best in the world? Who's the worst in the world? I don't give a fuck. I don't give a damn. If you want to think I'm any good, fine. If they don't think I'm any good, I don't give a shit. I'm there to ride waves and enjoy myself. It's all emotional and it's released and it's me. My whole life is this escape. My whole life is this wave I drop into, set the whole thing up, pull out the bottom trim, pull up into it, and shoot for my life. Going for broke, man. And behind me, all the shit goes over my back. The screaming parents, teachers, screaming teachers, police, priests, politicians, kneeboarders, windsurfers. They're all going over the falls head first into the reef, head first into the fucking reef. I'm shooting for my life, and then when it starts to close out, I pull out through the bottom out to the back. And I pick up another one and do the same goddamn thing. Systems, communism, capitalism. Nothing influences me. I just go straight ahead in my own thinking. And that's the way I do it. Now, I don't expect anyone to live my life. Why should they? It's pretty lonely. A very lonely, bizarre existence. Scooter boy I was tied up with 4 years ago. He's the only one ready to go on any trip. My next trip is the Cameroons, islands off the Cameroons. If he doesn't go, I'll go. For me, I can't live in the Northern Hemisphere. I must live back into time, where all these animals, all this sea life, all the oysters, shellfish, crustaceans, everything is part of the smell. Everything has to come into the focus of the whole experience. If you don't understand that, you're only a pretender. The whole magnificence of riding waves is that living being, that communication between you and the whole existence of reality on this planet. Individuals are getting pushed out and the clones are taking over. Masses of armies of them, pushing. So where's the individual anymore? He's finished. It's always somebody else. They're not even them. They're somebody else. They're copying somebody else, so they're not them. They're that guy in the video or this motion picture or some magazine they're pretending to be. The competitive part of it all is a whole different ballgame, a whole different camp. What I'm involved with, I don't even think about it. I don't want to think about it. It destroys, for me, the whole purpose of riding waves. I don't like noises, I don't like crowds, I don't like bullhorns going off, people giving me orders how to ride, how to do certain maneuvers. All this is beyond my comprehension of pleasure. Now, what motivates these people is, I'll never go out and think about it. It has nothing to do with me. But that's their life and that's their direction. Let them go. They probably are the best in the world, and all professional athletes are the same.